4, 3.
There we go.
Now we're live. Okay. Welcome to the Atheist Cricket Table. I'm Skeptic Knowledge, and I'm joined with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional people. We have the usuals from, if you saw our broadcast last week, we had Dragnaut, we had Fabio, we had Unicorn, and myself. We've had 2 new additions. Actually, we have Helena, Handbasket, and we have Gus.
Hi.
So topics that we were considering are well, I guess we could start off, with the recent news of the Texas
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, the Texas kid who brought in that clock. I guess we might as well revisit that scenario and discuss how that all went down. And
well, let me go ahead since
add to it.
I've stated my piece off air, so I'll say it on air. I see the conclusions people are trying to go towards. Like I think there's just a general repulsion towards this bleeding heart liberal, I guess you can call it paradigm, that people are trying to move into. Like we're trying to push so hard away from Islamophobia and racism and, just judging people by how they look. And so to a degree that may be hindering people's objectivity. And so since that notion is out there, I think people are trying to look even harder now to see, okay, what is Ahmed up to, and it's ironically kind of creating the same situation that caused people to kind of push that direction in the first place. So it's almost a never-ending cycle. And so, but in any case, anybody and everybody should be objective. You should say, okay, well, what's going on? Obviously, there are some misgivings about what this kid thinks is an invention, or what he calls an invention, and what he supposedly did with this.
I actually saw a video of somebody who was analyzing the picture that was provided, and he was saying that he found actually an exact clock of which the insides of that were basically just moved to this box.
Yeah, and then for me, it looked like it didn't look like anything he personally soldered. Like he just took the shit out of probably one of those old like LED clocks or whatever, and then just and then just like screwed the fucking board down and put it in there, and it's like, oh, look what I did. So it's for whatever motivation, he did it like that, and I really can't expect a fucking 14-year-old to have the electronics expertise to resolder an entire fucking circuit board. That's just me. I don't expect that of a 14-year-old, a regular 14-year-old, whatever you want to define as regular. But evidently there were some issues where the clock had went off during one of the class periods, so he had to either plug it in or put some type of power source to it. I don't know why it supposedly didn't go off in the other class periods, or there are any number of scenarios that could have happened.
Do those clocks have an internal battery, like one of those?
Some of them do.
They do, but the particular model that he had wasn't hooked up to its normal 9-volt backup. So.
Yeah, like I know the 9-volt backup, but it almost sounds like it supposedly had another third battery.
Well, if that was the case, then I don't think the one that he had had I guess a tertiary power source. From what I saw, it had the plug. Mm-hmm. I think it's like the 110 plug or whatever, and then it had that little connector for the battery. And so what I've heard people kind of say is, well, why did he turn on all of a sudden? There's something suspicious going on. Well, it's a 14-year-old kid who brings something new and shiny to a school of other 14, 13-year-olds, and he could have possibly just wanted to show them how it worked or what he had done. That's probably the easiest, simplest conclusion one can draw. But, from what I'm seeing, I see people trying to assert different types of things. Like there's an ulterior motive here, almost as if the kid wanted to try and generate some type of attention towards him for nefarious means, when even if that was the case, there is something going on behind the scenes. There are adults in positions of authority and positions of power to react a certain way. If they legitimately thought that this device, which had no reactants on it, was explosive.
As I like to say, no boom stuff.
no boom stuff. You know, an electronics teacher could probably have seen that. It's very easy to identify a reactant.
Yeah, you would think that your electronics teacher would have taken, after first seeing it, would have said,
just a glance at it, you can kind of tell. You know, I mean, I understand. I've seen IEDs. I've seen actual IEDs that can blown up and kill people. I've taken several classes on it because that was actually part of my job in the military to check out this. It didn't look like an IED to me, and I've seen some very creative ones, even made out of cell phones, and so that looked like a really shitty science project to me. But for someone who's only seen 24 and a lot of these other movies with briefcase bombs, it may look like something kind of crazy, especially with extra wire sticking out, whatever. But if the school honestly thought it was a bomb, every child in that school should have been evacuated. They wouldn't have sat in an office with the kid and have called the police to say, well, we think he made this bomb here that could possibly kill all of us. So from what I'm seeing is that they kind of changed it to, well, he was doing it as a prank or a hoax to try and get people to be scared of it or something like that, which is really interesting because even if that was the case, you still err on the side of caution to remove people from danger. So it just seems like kind of a reactionary response to someone's half-assed attempt at drawing a shitty conclusion.
Would a 14-year-old have that mentality to want to play that kind of game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I went to a school with the constant bomb threats. I mean, they do shit like that, for whatever reason. Might be a test coming up, sure. But it's every time that happened, all of us were evacuated, even if it was false.
Yeah.
That has always happened. Steve Wozniak, when he was 18, he made a fake bomb and he put it in a storage in his school. Actually, they had a metronome and he had a sensor, so whenever everybody approached the locker, it started ticking. So they had to call the police, the bomb disposal squad. They put him in a detention center for a night where he teach the other guys how to unwire the fan, the wires to the fan, and connect them to I'm not fucking kidding, and connect them to the roads of the cage so that everybody was approaching that was getting a shock. So that has happened forever. So I'm not surprised by that.
That's awesome.
That's too much, man.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Yes, I did have a now famous screaming, yelling, chopping, biting match with Benny Ocean over this last night, and
you, Gus, of all people.
Yeah, me. Yeah. But I think what I failed to communicate was that, I mean, this is an awful lot of reaching. There's and a lot of these people, like, they're sort of saying, well, that looks really suspicious, and then they're stopping. And that's part of what bothers me, right? I mean, what this kid's doing looks really suspicious, but then you say, well, what does that mean, though? And they're like, well, I don't know, but what 14-year-old kid would do this or that or the other thing? And I'm just like, well, what's your end game? Like Drag asked, what's the end game here? What does this 14-year-old kid want to do? And I keep thinking to myself, when I was 14, I was stupid. Like, I was brain damaged at 14. Like, something happens to a kid when that first bang of hormones gets into their body, right? And they become brain damaged. Everybody knows this. And
I remember when you're
I would have done some stuff that was just straight up fucking stupid. Like, straight
gravity
up
was not an
stupid.
issue at that point.
Like, I remember, like, I'll tell you a little story, okay? When I was 14 years old, I was working at a fairground. It's called the Ottawa International Exhibition, okay? And I was working there. I was working with the carnies. I was one of these kids whose job it was to replace balloons on one of those joints where you go and you throw the darts at the balloons, it's bladder the bladder, climb up the ladder, right? You're gonna win one of these hard as concrete fucking dogs with their permanent tongue stuck out. You know the ones I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I struck up a friendship with a cop over a few days, and he that was one of the first years that those collapsing batons came out on the market. So I saw it on his belt. I said, "Oh, hey, you got that one of those new collectibles?" And I reached for it. Right? Stupidest fucking thing. I couldn't have done anything stupider if I had reached for his pistol. Okay? And he just about broke my arm. And he said, "Don't ever do that." But that's just to give you an idea of how fucking stupid people can be at that age, right? So this whole notion that, you know, the kid knew what he was doing and he knew what he was trying to do and his family might have been putting him up to it. It just, to me, it's listening for the sounds of zebras when you hear hoofbeats, when what you really should be expecting is horses. That's just what I think.
Yeah, the obviousness. Anything to add, Helena? I guess not. How about you, Unicorn?
Sorry, guys, I've got some stuff going on at the house.
No problem. How about you, Unicorn?
What?
Any comments towards the event?
What, the bomb kid?
Yeah.
No, it's pretty much over. Like, who cares? You know, like, a kid got some deals, he made a mistake, or the people made a mistake, and now he's doing okay, and I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think...
Well, it just shows the mentality, some people's mentality, and how, you know, they made such a small event into such a large
Well, here's the thing. Some people are still kind of miffed about why is he receiving this much outpour. I understand, okay, Obama sent him a tweet, that's cute. But then he's getting stuff from NASA, and he's getting stuff from Microsoft, and then he's getting stuff, you know, from this and that. And that's where a lot of people are kind of, I guess that's where people started wondering, like, is all this deserved? Is the whole scenario being overdone because of the anti-Islamophobia? You know, I guess.
In that case, I guess I would have to agree. Then it's been outdone. People have put too much emphasis on the situation.
I don't agree. I disagree. I mean, I disagree on the fact that there's been that kind. I mean, that this one is an overreaction. I'm not getting into the motives of why I did that. I'm generally not interested. I think that, you know, the old scenario that his father might be behind, stuff like that, it's a possible scenario. I'm not dissing that out. It might well be. I'm not sure, but it might well be. But I don't think that's the interesting point. The interesting point, I think, it's two. One, Dreadnought, you know, already talked about it a little bit, and it's something which hasn't been done, is the immediate reaction to that kind of things. If it's true that they called the police and they spoke with the kid and they brought away with handcuffs, he's 14 years old in a school, that's not cool. That's not cool, because if the only reason why you put him away in handcuffs is that if you suspect that's really a bomb. But if that's a bomb, you will call the bomb disposal unit, which wasn't called. So at the time that they took away the kid, again, 14 years old in fucking handcuffs, you are doing it wrong. There is no problem. I mean, there is no discussion about that, because you already know that's not a bomb, and if is crime, if you want to call it crime, is, you know, procured hoax, you know, or procured danger. I don't know if you have something like that in the U.S. You don't pull away a 14-year-old guy in handcuffs. Obama's tweet, I think, was quite interesting. I don't think he made the tweet because of if that wasn't a hoax, a mistake, because, you know, of the bomb or stuff like that. I don't think he made like that. He made like that because he knew that because of the guy was at a name like Ahmed Mohammed, it would have caused a problem. So I saw the tweet as a kind of trying to diffuse the situation, saying, you know what, I mean, we got to stand behind that, because, you know, regardless, we will look into the motives later, but the way he was treated, and again, I want you to think hard about it. If you have sons or nephews which are 14 years old, unless they burn the fucking school down, you don't carry out a 14-year-old kid with handcuffs. You just don't do that.
I think something else that something else that needs to be kept in mind. There was a documentary film a couple of years ago, and I wish I could remember the director, but it was called The War on Kids, and it went through and it talked about how there was a there were some pretty scary parallels being put in the American educational system across different states that was starting to make schools look and feel more like prisons. And that kids were being, the stuff that used to get you a rap on the knuckles and sent to the principal's office or sent to the guidance counselor is now getting you literally arrested, booked on felony charges. And one of the other problems I have is this notion of zero tolerance, which, it is a supreme irony that at the point in our lives where we arguably require the most tolerance from the people around us is when these educators, these educational experts, these kid wranglers, okay, seem to think that they should impose a system that permits the least tolerance. To me, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's antagonistic. It's treating children like little criminals. And we know for a fact, we know that if you treat people like criminals, they will behave like criminals. They will become better criminals in terms of the skill set that they bring to criminality. We know this for a fact. But there's an industrial complex that's being established in United States and to a lesser extent in Canada, and it's the prison industrial complex. The problem started when you guys allowed private for-profit prisons. That's the problem. And I'm sorry if it sounds like it's a far connection, but if you've got kids that are already getting into quote-unquote the system, you're essentially setting people up to become lifetime citizens of prisons. And if you're starting that young, what hope does a kid have? Even if they manage to stay away from actual prison time, their lives are ruined by felony charges at an age where they can't possibly comprehend them. And we don't let 14-year-old kids drink. We don't let them smoke. We don't let them drive. We don't let them fight in the army. We don't let them do anything else, any of the other privileges that we allow to adults. So if that's the case, why do we charge them like adults? Why do we incarcerate them like adults? And why do we force them to carry adult burdens for their mistakes?
Just as a point of reference to what Gus is talking about, this is one of the examples of this prison industrial complex, and this is one of the orchestrators of that. One of many instances of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when you have an industry that has a vested interest in maintaining a steady supply of anything, then that vested interest all of a sudden becomes a problem. And in the prison industrial complex, the interest of steady supply is of bodies into the prisons. Because many states have deals with the companies that say that they get paid no matter what. So it's in the state's best interests to actually put people in there, because once they're in there, they can have a lot of pressure put on them to work. And when they're working, they're not working for the state. They're often working for private companies. They're doing things like making mattresses or the old saw of license plates or whatever, and they're doing this for slave wages. Often money that gets pumped back into their commissariat, because the other thing that tends to happen is these guys don't get fed properly. If they decide not to work, I mean, anybody who doesn't get money pumped in their commissariat doesn't get fed properly, because the food often, I mean, there are a number of states that are proud of feeding their prisoners on between $2 and $1 a day. A day. You're trying to give people 1,500 calories at least on $1 a day. How in God's name does that happen if you're not eating the grass?
Yeah.
Skeptic, are you there?
Yeah, I've invited Groovy.
Okay, there we
go. Yeah, it's getting out of hand. All this defensive posturing.
Well, to me, the issue is here. Like, I understand everyone needs to be skeptical about any scenario that happens, but when people start, when you start looking for ulterior motives, you'll find one. Whether you see one or whether one exists or not, you will find one. Mm-hmm. People will find one, and the most mundane of actions, no matter if they're if they happen on a regular basis or if it happens infrequently or whatever. And so once you start down that line without proper evidence to support that line of thinking, you're going to come to the conclusion you want, regardless of anything else. You will see it. And so I would say that you have to err on the side of caution when you go down that route, because if you're saying that there's a conclusion, there has to be a logical connection between each and every point. You just can't leave it dangling at the end, saying that there's something off in the distance. I can barely see it. The closer I get, doesn't help me solidify it or clear it up any. It just gets blurrier. So.
Okay. I just want to say, bless you, Helena.
Thank you. No, so I think it's good to be suspicious, but you have to check your suspicions also, because otherwise your suspicions can run rampant, and I think there's a problem there. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, people bring up all these suspicious things about this little case here, and if you just leave it at suspicion and draw conclusions based on those suspicions that aren't connected, just like Drag was saying, then you can kind of go astray. So I think it is good to be suspicious. I mean, I don't see a problem with people being suspicious, but concluding based solely on the suspicion is where I think the problem is. And concluding prematurely really is a problem, because then any new evidence that comes to you gets filtered through your conclusion and serves only to confirm whatever conclusion you've arrived at. So I think that really is a problem. That I guess it's up to each individual, to try to stop that from happening. But I think it's important to try to stop that from happening. So maybe yes, there are all these suspicious things. Some of them are really.
It's the case of avoiding the jump, the sudden reaction, to want to make it the worst possible scenario.
Yeah, and that does go for both sides, right? If there are two sides on this bomb issue, right? So we always want to be careful not to do that. But I think once you start deciding that suspicion alone warrants whatever conclusion you draw from it, you get into a very strange territory that really smells like conspiracy.
Okay, well, I just want to change over into a different subject. I don't know whether I'll just label this the lighter side of Christian smarts. A gentleman by the name of Armored Christian has put out a video stating, let's see if I've got. I was going to show it on the Hangout, but I believe that it's not possible to show it on the Hangout, and our viewers won't be able to see it.
There's a way I can do it. I'll just put it. What do you call it?
I think it's entertainment in itself just to watch the first. It's only 4 minutes long, maybe less than that.
Well, if you want me to do it, put the link in the side chat, and I'll do it that way.
Okay. The name of the video is Proof Earth is Less Than 10,000 Years. Now, he is, aside from his math, I think common sense has escaped the situation. Here's the video on the right-hand side. After you watch it, you kind of shake your head and think to yourself, how do you get to your conclusions? At what point did you actually start thinking?
All right, let me know when you want me to start.
Anytime, I guess. Hopefully people can see it.
I'm a Christian. I took down that video about inaccurately doing the math, but so many atheists had to ignorantly comment as if I didn't know what I was talking about. No, I did. I just didn't know the math I was trying to calculate. My logic insinuated to go to math, okay? But you atheists, you want to try and, take one misunderstanding and then use a red herring fallacy and then try and win an argument based on a different topic that isn't even relevant to my point. So, since I have to be so specific for people that are so quick to force their bias onto something that can't be forced, I will fix it for you. 136 million. I don't know if you guys can read that. It's because I put the camera facing me, but okay. 136 million people born per year. It's out of 6 million years for so-called human evolutionary development for reproduction. It comes out to, I believe, 816 trillion people. I told you it was well over a trillion. I didn't know it was that far above a trillion, but I took off 100,000 years to give leeway, because if you look back in time in these past 2,000 years, it went from how many people to 7.2 billion? I don't know the math on that. Didn't bother doing it, but here's the part where you atheists can do the math on that. Excuse me.
Oh, classy.
This is proof evolution is false. There should be at least 802 trillion people on this planet. Okay? I'm not going to do this video again. This is proof therein. 136 million people a year, per year, over the course of 5.9 million years. I took off 100,000 so that way it would give time for the human populace to get up to speed in adulthood, so that the people can still reproduce. Now, I heard an argument from somebody that said that back then perhaps sex wasn't pleasurable or something like that. That's ridiculous. Lust, it's a reason, an incentive to have sex, to multiply, to have children. If it didn't feel good, there would be no sex, okay? People wouldn't want to do it unless they actually had a kid. I mean, lust is the prime driven variable in people having kids, you know? I mean, if there was no pleasure to it, no lust, right? Many people wouldn't be getting abortions. Duh. So, this is proof that evolution is false and incorrect, okay? This is proof they're in for a young Earth. In fact, so young, it's about 6,000 years old. That precise. Less than 10,000. Just be on the safe side with you atheists. I can't believe how many commented ignorantly. I mean, I understand I got the math inaccurate. Apparently people don't read the comments, but in the comments I stated that I was going to fix that and edit that. So I took it down, and look, I'm at Jason's house. I can't upload this video here. I have to go home and upload it on the Wi-Fi. So thanks.
Okay, I think we reached the conclusion of it.
Yeah, I think we've got the point that this guy is a fucking retard, and it's okay to move on.
So I feel smarter.
This man has dropped IQ points. I never thought levels could go that low.
I actually feel more idiot because I listened to that.
Because you watched that?
Yeah.
But what was pretty interesting to me is he didn't take into account like every person he prescribes on there, the 130 million people, or was it 136 million people? All I guess were pregnant, female and pregnant, to multiply, to double up every year.
I still say he's a Poe. No one is that stupid.
No, sir. No, I can smell real stupid a fucking statute mile away. That's real stupid.
That's genuine.
That's real stupid.
I'm proud of stupid. I really think I have this strong notion that he is just doing a really horrible parody of just dumb evangelicals.
Have you seen at least the headings of his other videos?
His speech patterns are too interrupted. His thoughts are too disjointed. He's too. You can see his brain literally leaping from lily pad to lily pad of stupidity. Right. Like he has. You can tell that this kid spent a lot of time in school being told to sit down, shut up, and concentrate. Mm-hmm. Like no, this is real dumb. This is genuine dumb. This is all North American dumb.
You can tell, like, when someone has like a dialogue that they've prepared versus you know, I'm just speaking my mind, you can see the difference. And if someone's putting on a show, you can almost tell, like, especially if you watch like enough movies and really bad movies too, you can tell when someone's acting foolish. And I think a lot of people just like to throw out the troll card or the Poe card to kind of just, you know, sweep these people under the rug. But it's like, nah, man, there's genuine, really stupid people that have like crazy thoughts like that, you know. So.
And he
I don't know.
seriously thinks that the math, that there is some math involved in this, because I inquired with him. I actually wanted to get him on the program here, but he was apprehensive about it. Not that I blame him to some extent, but I wanted him to actually just think about what he was saying. I wasn't about to criticize him on the entire thing, because I thought to myself, you know, everybody can make a mistake. You know, people cannot, they can just have verbal diarrhea and not think about exactly what they are saying. But I'm afraid this gentleman is what he is. He refuses to look at the information he's been provided.
Yeah, and by the way, that right there, that's a mark of true stupidity. When you cannot be fucking swayed from anything by hook or by crook, that is true stupidity.
Yeah, I told him to, you know, forget about the math. Let's look at the sensibility. Let's look at you know, common sense, and you know, see your words for what they are. And he refused. You know, and when I inquired as to getting him in here, and the invitation's still open. If he's watching the program and he wants in, then by all means he can come in. Send me G+ message, and I'll gladly let him in. Then he can explain his position. But so far he's claimed that we are out to get him.
Yeah, that's another tenet of his stupidity, if you ask me.
Has he been talking to G-Man?
No, I don't even think G-Man would fall this far.
Exactly where I went with that, though.
Yeah, sorry, Groovy, I should have said that you were in here. My apologies.
Oh, it's okay, I snuck in the back. Hello.
Groovy's thing. But
yeah, yay for Yom Kippur, right?
Sorry?
All my coworkers are Jewish, and it's Yom Kippur.
Oh, yeah.
So, no one else is here.
Yeah, like, I don't think G-Man could drop this far.
I've seen him go pretty low.
Have you seen
him recently?
Don't underestimate him.
Have you seen him recently? He's there, pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that, you know, for all of the viewers, all of 3 viewers.
I don't see the connection between population and evolution. Like he says that there is.
There is no connection. I already highlighted that to him, that there was zero connection between population explosion and evolution. He's not taking into account even the point at which human beings became human beings. You know, the time before that, it doesn't exist, according to him.
But he did kindly give us 100,000 years so that we could reach adulthood and start breeding.
Yeah, adulthood, like we suddenly just became...
100,000 years, yeah. Mm.
He has to be fucking I'm sorry, just that.
Well, look at his other videos. He believes that you know, he's another one who believes that the Earth is going to end, or the life is going to end. He's had his dreams, and he's convinced that.
Oh, revelations.
Yeah, and he's convinced that there's the end of the Earth, and his God will be here to take him away. I wish the God would, because it would increase the IQ of the population.
Wish someone would. Nice men in white coats.
Yes.
I have a jacket for you, sir. It has lots of shiny buckles. Well, I really tire of trying to explain evolution, modern synthesis, whatever, to people who have no interest in genuinely trying to learn what it is. If you want to challenge it, then sure, it has changed over the last 20 years even. It's changed dramatically. It's because, you know, people still refer to it as evolution colloquially, but I think now the current term is modern synthesis. But from what I understand, there's going to be another shift in how it's explained and what it's named and so on and so forth.
So how it's divided up mostly?
I'm not sure if it's as far as like taxonomy. I think it's just how not how it's taught. I think it was Scientist Sam because he explained it better, but a more, I want to say, condensed way that it explains the mechanisms. I don't know, but it's going through another shift, and so I mean it's like people are free to challenge the shit out of it. It's just you have to know what it is to begin with.
Well, exactly. You're finding a lot of people who want to challenge it yet have no idea what they're talking about. That's kind of irritating at best.
Yeah, and another one of the problems is that they equivocate it with so many other things. Like his argument was basically against an old Earth. It was not against evolution.
Yeah.
He was saying we can't have been around that long. It doesn't matter what process was used. We can't have been around that long.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't mention flat Earth. That would have been the topper.
Oh, God.
It's coming, don't worry. I did kind of look into the thing that you said he suffered some type of head trauma. If you go back and look at his videos, you can do a head injury just slowly healing.
Every one of his videos has this head injury on the video. So and that was my speculation. He was suffering from some sort of head trauma, recent head trauma.
Well, you know, as long as Happy Head Wound Harry is happy.
Well, he's not happy. The evil, stupid atheists are correcting his
math.
Yeah,
we are the worst thing to have occurred in his mind.
You know, I wish somebody could put a law in place that said you were only allowed to talk to the terminally stupid a maximum of 5 times, and then you had to ignore them.
Who would set the standard of what's stupid?
Yes.
We couldn't have.
We'd vote on it. We'd vote on it.
Yeah,
vote on
it.
Look where voting's got us.
Oh, shut up. Is that the Canadian that says, look where voting's gotten us? Go bang your head against a fucking wall. Look where voting's gotten us. Yeah. You're not allowed to sound American. You're Canadian.
No,
you're also not allowed to say shit just to stir stuff up, okay? There's been enough of that out of you for the past fucking week.
If I may say, Harper is fucking up. And it'd be very nice to see his ass get out of there.
Harper was elected by a minority.
I know. That's what pissed me off
so
too.
If you want to change it, convince all of your fucking friends who think it's too cool not to vote to get out.
I know. I try, man. It's hard to convince because I'm 28. I'll be 29 on Halloween, and it's hard to convince people like around my age and younger that voting works because the rhetoric of everybody, especially when I was in high school, was, oh, it doesn't matter, man. It's all rigged, man. They're miscounting votes, man. You shouldn't even vote, man. And I'm like, okay, so then you'll never ever know that because for every person that says that is a person that doesn't vote, and for every person that doesn't vote, it gets a vote for a person that you don't want to see in office. So, fucking vote. Period.
I could, you know, if you want to fix that problem in Canada, I can't speak for other countries, but in Canada, if you want to make it so people vote, tell them that they can't. Tell them that if they didn't vote, tell them if they didn't vote in the last federal election, they don't get to vote in the next one, and then watch them fucking lose they shit. Watch them lose they shit. I guarantee you there'll be fucking mobs at the polling stations in the election afterwards. I guarantee you.
Oh, I believe it. In the U.S., that would be like the ultimate insult.
Yeah.
They would be losing their minds. They'd be bringing second and third cousin kids to the event.
Spend $1 billion fucking dollars in Canada to tell people that if you didn't vote this time, you don't get to vote next time. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you fucking voting percentages would go up by at least 25%. At least.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
People better fucking vote this election, I swear. Like,
it'll be the same thing it always is. And unfortunately, part of the problem is that when times are going relatively okay, a lot fewer people vote. People tend to vote more in times of actual crisis. Not even so much in financial crisis is sort of part of the crisis package, but things like wars and stuff like that. That's when they tend to vote. But what are you going to do? I mean, some people you just can't. Some people just don't have any faith in the process. Frankly, because a lot of people don't understand the process.
Yeah, right. That's what I was going to say.
A lot of people get they kind of get sucked in by what everybody tells them that they're supposed to expect, and they it doesn't help that in schools, neither in the United States nor in Canada, we don't teach civics in schools anymore. We don't teach about the actual political process. We don't teach about how different parties work. We don't teach about what the actual powers of a prime minister versus a president, of a Congress versus a Senate or a House of Parliament. Like, we do a really shitty job teaching kids about that.
Right.
And it's having knock-on effects. Kids don't understand that these politicians run their fucking lives. They don't get it. On a fundamental level, they don't get it. Every time they go to the store and pay an extra percentage on GST, which is up here in Canada, that's our sort of overarching national value-added tax to everything. Up here, every time they pay an extra percentage of GST, they don't understand that it was a bunch of politicians that decided that. It doesn't click with them. We need to teach them. We need to teach people better.
Well, just to I have to kind of cut in. We're getting close to like our 1:45 mark. I want to give my channel shout-outs. One is to spelled I-M-A-M. Father, aka Stop Spamming 1 and 2, or 1 is probably deleted now. Gentleman spending a lot of time on the Islamic Bible, talking about how his atheist view of the Islamic Bible. He is, I believe, an ex-Islamist, and very interesting to hear his side of it. And what he thinks the Quran has in it.
He's the one that just keep getting downvoted, huh?
Yeah,
not downvoted, but like report spam bots.
Yeah, he gets reported. And when you start getting reported by just about anyone in that side of it, you're off to a good thing. People don't like what you're saying.
You know what they say? You're nobody till somebody hates you.
That's it. Second shout out, Essence of Thought has been taking on again the Islamic world with these new Islamists. The gentleman who produced the film Drink Your Father's Sperm. I'm sorry for that title, but I didn't make it up.
Is his name like Enzio or something?
Yeah, what a piece of work he is. He's been around a while, him and his buddies. And I believe Essence of Thought had challenged him at one point, and I don't know, it hasn't gone from that point.
I enjoy talking to some closeted evangelicals, but that one Enzio, whatever the fuck his name is, I really wouldn't have too much of an interest, because if you go straight to why don't you drink your dad's sperm, then it's like it's just gonna be a fucking pissing match back and forth.
He's also one of the ones I think that produced that he takes a bunch of Lego, puts it in a bag, shakes it up, and then supposedly comes out with this already put together plane or helicopter or whatever the case was.
Well, if you saw the Drink Your Dad's Sperm video and how well constructed it was, it shouldn't surprise you.
Mm. Yeah.
Sounds like somebody else that needs to be ignored.
Yeah, it was surprisingly well put together. Like there's a plot to it.
Yeah.
That's how scary it is.
They're pulling up a lot of fallacies and changing a lot of.
Hey, Skeptic, I got a question. Is there a reverse to what you're doing? Like, are there any channels that you hate and you want to tell people to stay away from?
I'm not a negative person when it comes to people's channels. Like, if I don't like it, I just don't bother with it.
I don't think it worked that way anyway, because you tell if I say a channel that I don't like, people are going to immediately rush to it and see Like, I really hate that atheist unstoppable guy.
Yeah. And Unstoppable, what, 10,000 vote?
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'd say people should go watch him. He says things that people like. Go watch him. I don't agree with him. Go watch him. I don't give a shit.
Has anybody else got a shout out for a particular channel that catches your eye?
Shout out
Keefe
to
the Elite Hunter.
1990s.
Everybody at once, please.
Sorry, go ahead, Gus.
Keefe's the Elite Hunter.
She's elite hunter. What the hell is this?
Everybody go watch Nadia's channel. Nadia's Chambers.
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky and Aaron Ra will show up again. Hoy.
I'm
Yes.
actually going to, like you say that, and I've been talking to him in the chat from yesterday, and he did not like that exchange with Seamus because of what.
Why? Why did he
Big
like
surprise.
exchanging with Seamus? Why?
Well, here's the thing, because Seamus was saying that Aaron Ra was taking the parable that they were mentioning there, I think the parable of Jesus, whatever, and it mentioned the punishment of slaves. And so, and I'll take what Aaron Ra said verbatim and I'll just read it off, because I wanted to get it straight from the horse's mouth. I wanted him to explain it. So he says, I should write a blog about the misunderstanding there. That is, if Jesus tells a parable and the moral of the parable endorses a punishment of slaves, then Jesus is endorsing the punishment of slaves, meaning that Jesus is giving an example with regard to slavery. What's his face keeps telling me, no, that's just a parable. He was just too dense to get it. And so that was the point that Aaron Ra was bringing up in that. So
Isn't a parable like submitting a lesson?
Yeah.
Like, here's the story. Here's the story, and here's the
Regardless
moral.
of that, within it, there's a message, and if you're telling the story, you're endorsing the message.
Exactly.
And that's the point.
Well, here's what the dictionary, and this is just dictionary.com. A short allegorical story designed to illustrate or teach some truth, religious principle, or moral lesson. And another definition is a statement or comment that conveys a meaning indirectly by the use of comparison, analogy, or the like. So
Yeah, I'm as much as it pains me to do this, I think I might be inclined to agree a little bit with Seamus on this. A parable is just a story where you just like Dragnot said, the things happen as Dragnot said, and Jesus tended to break out in parables when he was asked a direct question that was tricky. And if you look at this, he very rarely did that, like the welcome back Cotter thing, right, where Mr. Cotter says, "Let me tell you a story about my uncle or my aunt, whatever," right? Like he very rarely opened with parables. I think the only time that I can think of that he really sort of did a gigantic parable was the Sermon on the Mount. But most of the time he tended to use parodies as really complicated answers for relatively simple questions in some cases. So whether or not he actually agreed with slavery is difficult to tell from the parable he spoke of. The fact that he talked about that one parable with the slave who had been forgiven a debt and then he didn't forgive another debt, whatever the hell it was. It's very difficult to look at that and say, okay, well, based on that parable, you endorse slavery. I think there are better ways to do it. I think if you listen to Jesus say, "Slaves, obey your masters," I think that's how you. I was
going to say that next.
I think that's how you convict Jesus of being tacitly approving of slavery. I think that's how you do it. I don't think you do it through his parables.
Well, where they work together, right? Like if you're going to tell a parable that endorses slavery, and then you're going to say, "Slaves, obey your master," and you're a teacher, right? And everyone knows you as a teacher and a wise teacher, and some believe you to be the Son of God, then that's going to translate.
Yeah, but Unicorn, I think you're missing my point. I think.
No, I get your point. I get where you're pointing.
No,
just on the surface of the parable itself, you can't really draw that conclusion.
Yeah,
you just kind of said the opposite of what I said, so I don't think
No, I do get it. I just wanted to point that out, right? It's because, like, yeah, for sure, if you look at the story on its own, you can't just simply go, yeah, Jesus is saying this. But if you take all of everything into account, like the whole Gospels, how Jesus behaved, who people thought he was, right? It would be, during that time too, it would be, after a long study, you could say, yeah, I'm pretty sure Jesus endorsed at least the Hebrews' way of enslaving people.
But Aaron Ra didn't go at it that way. He sort of said, well, because he told the parable, he endorsed the practice, and on that basic statement alone, I can't back him up.
I think he's just trying to cut through the bullshit, though.
No, I agree.
And that's what I try to do too. It's like, just get down to brass tacks, and who gives a fuck about how you get there? Like showing your work. This isn't a math class, right? It's like, let's just talk about what the issue is. You know, and I kind of agree with him on that approach because I take the same approach.
The problem with cutting through the bullshit is knowing when you may be shaving too close to the bone. And I think that's tricky sometimes. And I think while Aaron Ra does have an extremely well-developed talent for pushing aside woo-woo, I think sometimes he doesn't understand that if you want to grab somebody by the hair, they have to have some hair to grab them by, and if you cut it all off first, you can't grab them by the hair no more. Sometimes you need sort of a little bit of that left over, just so that you can use it to, because ultimately, if you deny them every single thing that's in the Bible, you can't turn around and say, like, for instance, okay, well, why do you think that? Why do you? Sorry, you can't turn. Yeah, make fun of me and watch what I do to you. You can't make fun of. You can't sit there and say to Christians who clearly view children as a protected class, like with most children and the whole abortion thing, and I don't want to go too deeply into the whole abortion thing, but basically what it boils down to is that the reasons that they don't want you to kill babies in the womb, but they don't mind you committing capital punishment, is that they basically see children as more valuable. And they use the word innocent. If you completely take away all of their Bible stuff, you cannot turn around and say, well, wait a minute, your Bible says that nobody's innocent. Nobody's innocent. You see what I'm saying? If you completely take their Bible away, you can't turn around and hamstring them with it afterwards. And I think Aaron misses that opportunity on a couple of occasions because he basically just wants to rip the Bible out of their hands and throw it over his shoulder. And in most cases, that's justified. But every now and then, it's nice to let them have a little corner of it and then use that corner to help lift them up and throw them over your shoulder, bodily, Bible and all.
Yeah, I hear that. I get that, and I try to avoid it because I just see the Bible and religion as just modern day myths, you know. So it's like I try to avoid doing it, but the people that can do it, I commend them for doing it, and I encourage that because it's good to, you know, use your own book against you, especially for the people that don't read it and they don't know what's in it. It works. But yeah, I get your point, guys. That's a good point.
And Aaron Ra and Groovy said that Aaron Ra uses parabolic language and hyperbolic language, and he does. He does. He uses both of it actually, and the problem is that Aaron Ra is used to dealing with people whose, you know, ground level, people from the charismatic tradition, people who generally don't ground a lot of their faith in biblical scholarship. They sort of know what they know, right? And the only way to get through these people is to, in a figurative sense, pick a point on their face, and in a figurative sense, punch until they fall over. And then while they're sitting there with birdies going around their heads, you go, now listen to the truth. That's the only way to deal with somebody. Even if you're just doing it to sit them down so they stop yelling Jesus in your face over and over again. And so, you know, I recognize that tactic because it's one that I've adopted myself, right? But it doesn't work in a place like this where you're mixed in with moshers and you're mixed in with stormtroopers, and, you know, every now and then Seamus will show up and whatever you may think of the veracity of his biblical scholarship, that's the point by which he attacks atheism, is from a standpoint of biblical scholarship. Aaron Ra is not set up to deal with that very well because he's sort of optimized himself as a shock trooper.
True.
And he likes to make sweeping statements that they can latch onto and go, nuh-uh, not every culture, you're wrong. When it's obvious that he just means most.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean every single culture that ever frickin' existed has done it this way. That is not what he was trying to say.
Yeah. On a street corner, on a street corner, when you're screaming at a street preacher, you don't need to couch, you don't need to nuance, you don't need to back up, you don't need to, you know, to go back and overstatements. But here, where everybody's, you know, talking, and frankly, there's a lot less, generally speaking, a lot less bellowing going on pound for pound, and people are much more careful, and they're much more likely to attack you on minor points of contention, you know, because they think that somehow it's important if you say Hittite rather than fucking Minjanite. So this is important. This is important to these people, so it's
especially when it's a live hangout that's being recorded and they can go back and watch later and take down a transcript of what you said and rip it apart.
Yeah, little piece by little piece. So it's a different arena. Aaron Ra is useful in a very different arena, and it's not just now his scientific credentials in his field are impeccable. He doesn't look like he looks like Satan's fucking older brother, but he's a scientist. He's a man of letters, and he's a published scientist. So that part, when he talks about his field, he is a fellow, of the traditions. But I mean, when it comes to arguing his point, yeah, you're right. He's not very good at it, really. Although he's fun to watch, though. Like, you set him amongst the Christians, eh? And you just watch half of them run straight through the walls like something out of a Warner Brothers cartoon, eh? They're gonna bust right through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, they're trying to get away as fast as they can. I mean, I love that stuff. But then I love chaos. So what are you gonna do, right? I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I find that when they find themselves on the lower end of things, they will pick out specific things. Like, for instance, if somebody uses a general term, such as societies, they will automatically, when they feel they're on a losing streak, they will automatically pick out that by saying, "Oh, it's not all societies." Okay, you're right. It's not all societies, but it's generally most societies.
That's a great point.
Well, it's only fair to a certain degree because we really do try to pin them down on a lot of shit that they get wrong. So, I mean,
Well,
it's the good stuff to gander.
Pin down what if we're going to pin down anything, we're going to pin down their specific ideals. Right?
What do you mean by that?
Aspects like the things they should know. This is the book that they claim to be reading. They claim to have read. They claim to have full knowledge of.
Yeah.
Then when you get down to the finer points of it, they're like, "Oh well, we go to church every day or every Sunday, and this is what we're told." So you haven't actually read the book. Cover to cover.
That's part of the charismatic tradition. When I say the charismatic tradition, these are the guys who they were fed the big shapes of the Bible, right? Like I've often said about guys like Mac or G-Man, that they know about 1,000 words of the Bible, and they're all centered around Christ crucified and risen up again on Sunday. That's what it's about.
The crucified thing, I don't even get, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
But
that's the 1,000 words they're familiar with.
Okay.
The other stuff, like that's why when I caught G-Man up on the Book of Titus, I asked him, I said, "What's in the Book of Titus?" And he claims he knew, but he wasn't going to say, but he didn't know.
Okay.
And a lot of I asked Mac what was in the Book of Titus. He didn't know, because these guys aren't scholars. They are presented with street level, they're presented with infantry level tactics for the fight, as it were. Yeah. And they're told, now go out and tell other people these 1,000 words. Because frankly, from what I understand of the Bible, of particularly Christianity's end of the Bible, is that if you can get people believing these 1,000 words, that's what they need for salvation, right? They need to believe. So why teach them the rest? They're not going to need it. So that's why you get guys like Max saying, and he said it publicly twice now, I don't need to have read the whole Bible to understand it.
Yeah.
Which
Max
is something we wouldn't. Yes, he did.
Wow.
He did it. He did it. Yeah, he did it in front of Dragnaut, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
But he will tell you.
Go ahead.
He'll tell you it's completely inerrant, and also tell you the reasons behind why some things happened, even though he's never read it.
Yeah, and we wouldn't accept any if Helena, if you'd come up to me and said, "Oh, I read the collected. I know I'm familiar with the collected works of Friedrich Nietzsche," and I'm like, "Okay, well, let's look at this book." Yeah, I read the Dust Jacket. I got the big points. I would look at you and I would say, "Oh, okay. Let's talk about pie." You know what I mean? Because I would not believe for 10 seconds that I could get any more than a cursory understanding of Nietzsche's ideologies out of you. You know, and so we wouldn't accept this about any other book, and yet, because Christianity was engineered from the beginning to be so unbelievably inclusive, more inclusive than just about any other faith on earth that I've ever come in contact with. It's engineered to bring them all in, right? Smart, dumb, short, tall, smart, dumb, dumb.
As I've said before,
You know what I mean?
Religion has got to be the biggest. If you ever want to learn how to sell something, learn religion, because it's the biggest sales tactic the world has ever seen. To sell something that they can't prove exists to multiples of people.
I don't think it's necessarily just religion, and I'm trying to be fair and balanced as Fox News here. It's just a certain type. It's just a certain type of person that's more inclined to have these really narrow beliefs. And as we see in the skeptic community, it's not necessarily the person, his or herself. It is just the areas that they have set aside to say, this is what I'm going to take, and I'm going to hold it close to the chest. Precious. And so, they'll take those and they'll treat it like the One Ring.
Wow.
And some people can give away the One Ring and throw it into the pits of Mordor, and then some people will hold it forever. And it just seems that there are certain people who are more inclined to hold all of their beliefs close to the chest like that, and those who are less inclined, like my personal beliefs are whatever. I can think whatever about whoever, but I value facts over my own beliefs to a greater degree. And as hard as that is for people to believe, I can say whatever I want about my in-laws. I particularly don't like my own family, but I am still forced to set aside what I believe for what I know, which in many cases are very different, because I know how biased I can be just through introspection. And that's something that I've had to come to terms with, and not many people will be able to do that, because it does take a lot.
Mm.
Feel free to beat me up about that.
It's I don't have any objections. Now, J.D. Kane, I object to. Fucker, who let that prick in here?
I was trying to get Armored Christian in here by giving J.D. Kane the link, because he said he was talking to him, and J.D.
Were
Kane
you talking to Armored
J.D.
Christian?
don't lie.
For himself.
J.D., you don't lie. You weren't talking to Armored Christian. You were sort of tapping a semaphore out on his head, weren't you? You were just like, you are tap, 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 dumb, tap, 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 very tap, tap, dumb.
In the introduction to his program, Talking Shit Tuesday, he implied that he had been typing to him. Has it gone further than that?
No, I haven't spoken to him. It's just been back and forth writing. He gave me his argument for the veracity of Christianity, something like that.
The veracity of Christianity.
Where do you dig these half-wits up?
I don't know. I'm a really good archaeologist when it comes to digging up crazy creationists.
I mean, you unearth. That's exactly what it is. You unearth these you exhume these fucking guys.
Exhume.
Anyway, if you want, I'll share his argument.
Share it.
Actually,
Please, because
we're up to 6 viewers. You're helping me out here. We're up to 6 viewers.
Let me get a whiskey first. I'm going to need this.
I've been unable to parse it myself, so I could use some help.
Okay.
He says, I said, studying a book in pre-science times. He says, that's not a legit argument. So here we go. I'm just going to quote verbatim, because there's some errors in there, but I don't really know how to fix them. Genesis 1:1 states, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Heaven is all in between, all matter and energy. This is a form of heaven. More notably, in the beginning. And 1 John 2:17 states, the world passeth away. Not only did Genesis 1:1 insinuate the beginning of the universe, which never can insinuate logically that the universe will pass away, but 1 John 2:17 states the world will pass away, the planet. So 2 impossibilities did these people know in pre-science times.
Okay, I get what he's saying.
And here is the third, the sun will engulf the earth, right? Yes, the sun, now spelled S-O-N, will engulf the earth. 3 proofs directly from the Bible that prove impossibilities happen because God exists, and thus that is literally the only explanation of how they got these correct in pre-science times.
But JD, you're a habitual liar.
Well, you've been talking to Outral. Yes, I'll bring that up in a sec. But well, Helena, you seem to have figured out what he means. Help me out here. What does he mean?
Well, you really don't know what he means?
I'm trying. Maybe just
Okay.
my brain's not working today. But
He's saying, so, in fact, if we look at Genesis plus that other thing, we can see that even in pre-science, and we acknowledge that these people were pre-science people, yet what comes out in the Bible turns out to be something that there's no possible way they could have known. For example,
I get
that there was a start, that and other things that he says are impossible happened, and that the second verse that whatever it was that he quoted actually is saying that we're going to have a heat death. So, in fact, there was science even during pre-science, therefore, God.
Right. His thing about the sun versus sun, I actually just explained to him. I said, you realize that's the English translation, and that in Hebrew, they're not similar words for the star up there and people's kids.
I believe his response was something in the family of "nuh-uh."
Yeah, what did he say to that? Because I really want to know what he said to that. That sun's
he has not gotten back to it yet. I did just put it up to him, so he's got time.
He might say that God knew about English and knew that there was going to be this translation thing, and so he stuck that code in there for all us Merkins.
Oh, that's similar to Gus's neener, so
Merkin
doesn't really help. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, these are this is how I explained it to him. I have a long comment you guys can read if you're bored. That these are at best very weak predictions. I mean, we would expect these things to be the case even if Christianity and Christian metaphysics were crap. They're not comported with reality, so it's not saying much. And he considers these proofs that God exists and is the only reason this stuff could be there. Well, I can think of 1,000 off the top of my head. The fact is written up. It also, of course, assumes that the Bible's a reliable text in the first place. So, yeah, a few issues I popped up, although his responses are along the lines of, you big poo-poo head. The Outral school of apologetics. Here's what I think.
Yeah, whatever, atheist.
On you big fuzzy head. So I don't know what to do with him. There's another nicer, I guess slightly nicer guy named Voltix D, who seems very sweet and kind of naive. He said, learning the universe is fine, but that does not mean you know anything. What?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I don't
Never
know
heard
what that
induction?
means.
I think you can justify belief with induction. Don't most
You see, this is a new apologetic tactic. You make them so frightening that you wanna convert to Christianity so you can pray to God for protection from them.
I saw a meme a few days ago, and it was something we all know, but the way it was phrased, which is it really resonated. Christians need to be saved from their own God, and it said just in
Truer words.
Their own God.
I don't know about their own God, their own book for sure.
It's just when you think about it, like we're praising this thing, and we need to be saved from it.
Yeah. That's where you're being saved from. That's why you need Jesus, so God doesn't punish you.
But Jesus is the God.
Oh, man.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of conflicting.
You have an incorrect premise.
Is there like a third point, part to that?
Must there be?
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost?
Yeah, there's some dispute in that, and yeah, there's a little dispute.
Where
There's
does it
dispute?
insinuate?
Big Bopper and Richie Valens.
If I can ask you, someone you might know, where does it insinuate or imply or state flatly that the Holy Ghost is also God?
I don't know. You've got to get a Catholic on here for that.
We need.
Send out the jade signal.
Hold on, no, we just need to say textual criticism 3 times in the mirror, and then Shameless will appear.
He'll pop
Well,
up.
Seamus might know the answer, but I don't know that. I don't think he's a Catholic.
Well,
He's another Christian.
you say that loud enough, and Max will show up.
Send me a
If you start
Catholic.
drooling into a cup 3 times, Mac will show up.
If you put something else in a cup 3 times, Tommy will show up.
Oh God! Oh my God!
Oh, not Tommy.
Oh snap!
Anything but Tommy.
Oh, Oh man.
No, but this is something that, that verse, obviously, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, has been there since whoever it was who wrote it. But its interpretation changes as science develops.
It's
and
evolved.
now it even can be demonstrated to prove that God was telling people about quantum mechanics. I've heard people make this argument that sentence in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth,
it's just ambiguous.
Somehow solidifies, quantum mechanics. That God was telling people about that. That's
someone
a
Catholic?
heard. Huh?
Wait, there's Deidre.
Catholic senses were tingling.
Oh, Deidre's here. She's a fundy. Let's ask her.
She's effectively an atheist.
I'm actually a real moderate. I'm a real moderate.
Yeah, functionally atheist.
Explain this scenario before this room gets out of control.
The issue I have is that, that statement in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, is just ambiguous enough that it could fit anything.
Of course it can fit anything. How much in the Bible doesn't fit everything?
If tomorrow there was proof that an anomaly that's slowly moving across the universe literally shits out galaxies, that will be the explanation.
Absolutely. God created it. It's in the Bible.
Well, there's one part of what he wrote that threw me. Heaven is all in between, all matter and energy.
Well, of course, it's one of those areas where you can't discern one way or the other.
Well, there is no place where there's not matter. That makes no sense.
By that he means everything that is not Earth, I think.
There's everything that's not Earth.
The heavens. What God means by the heavens is everything that is not Earth. I think that's.
Except in that actual statement, he's saying that Earth is a form of heaven.
I don't think he's saying that. Is that?
Actually, I'm actually glad Deidre mentioned Acts. Well, on a completely unrelated note, though, it just reminded me. I was reading Forged the other day, and he mentions that Acts is also a forgery, but in a different way. And that it's clearly implying that Luke, the guy walked with Paul, wrote it. It's very clear that they want you to believe that, except it's not the case.
Well, who's forged it? Because, you can say that it's forged, but we all know that probably what happened was that there were scribes, and those scribes passed it along. So I don't know if that would count as a forgery. So I would call you on that later, and I'm sure you're a Jesus mythicism too. I would venture to say, since you think that's
oh God, no.
Okay, I'm just checking. No, but anyway, you asked, you summoned, you wanted a Catholic. I'm a Trinitarian, close enough, right? Any Trinity believer should know that the Holy Spirit and God is used interchangeably in the Book of Acts, and so that's where you get the Holy Spirit as part of the Trinity head. When you get Jesus as part of the Trinity head, you get I and my Father are one, the 8 I am claims in the book of John.
Yeah, John is very clear about it.
And also the fact that he accepts worship also from Peter. So that's where you're getting your idea of the Trinity. So thank you very much. I could and Elohim, which is also plural, but you can argue it comes from pagan roots, I know. But anyway, there you go. You don't need a Catholic for that. You just need somebody, which is 80% of Christianity, that believes in the Trinity.
All right, so Acts gives you one, and John gives you another.
So are you saying that the Elohim reference to the Trinity?
A lot of Christians think it's a reference to the Trinity. That's how we interpret it, yeah.
But there wasn't an idea of the Trinity when Elohim was written down.
God is and was and always will be, so we believe that the Trinity would always have existed.
Oh, so it's a retcon.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what the Jews have been saying. Like, you're rewritten our shit. Stop it.
Well,
I'm reading that statement I just said that he was talking about Earth being heaven. I totally misread it. He's talking about the space in between the atoms being heaven.
Yeah, which is that's what he means. Then what?
Space in between the atoms being
when
heaven.
we die, we go between the matter and the energy.
Oh, okay. Atoms are mostly empty space. That is actually correct. But how are you fitting an entire realm in between atoms?
You can fit a mind in. Well, you can fit a small mind in there. Outer Owl will definitely fit in the space between.
I will put Outer Owl in my pocket.
In the space between the atoms in your pocket.
Yes.
What makes you think he was saying that what he means by that is the spacing between atoms?
Well, he says heaven is all.
He's just saying God created the heavens and the earth. So we have the earth, and everything else is the heavens.
Oh, well, I put the whole thing
the next sentence.
Yes,
There's heaven is all in between all matter and energy.
Yeah, he said that after that, which is the part that.
If there's a comma in there, matter.
With his incredible
all matter and energy.
With his incredible grasp of grammar, I have a hard time following it at times.
Well, that was my problem because
Oh, hello. Oh, Cujo, calm down.
And Helena has her dogs. Oh my God.
I didn't mean it, honestly.
Cujo, calm down.
Oh, see, this is why I want the camera on, because I want to see you just get tackled. And I was like, rah! Like, where's Helena?
I don't know if we get the show would get flagged if that would happen.
Well, I mean, the next scene is like the dog like grasping her ankle and like dragging her off. She's like, "I'll be back."
Oh. Down, Cerberus, down.
Simon Dunk.
There we go. Cheap shots are coming out.
We need Simon Dunk here to talk about that because even with me studying chemistry, I really have a rudimentary understanding of what's being said on a cosmic scale. If it's something just so sophisticated coming from this guy that you need someone with a more than a cursory knowledge of astrophysics and shit, Simon would be a better guy to kind of sift through whatever Armored Christian is trying to say. I still think he's a fucking Pope, but let's ask Deidre. She's the Christy person here. Have you seen the video?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's short and
wonderful. Oh yes.
Highly recommended.
He goes over his math, over how he figured out.
Forget about the math. He doesn't even understand common sense.
He doesn't know how to hold a camera.
Yeah,
make sure you stretch your brain first.
Yeah, if you saw Talking Shit Tuesday, I did a little rendition of how he uses the camera. It's something like this, like, yeah, let me tell you about this guy. Yeah, you're not gonna believe this.
like retro MTV style, where it's like the twisting camera. Remember that in like the 90s?
But first he's holding the camera and talking to it, and he's shaking it a lot. He's just really and then he takes it and he actually videotapes a different phone. He's got a camera phone. He's taping a different phone. For the math on it, but you can't see because of the glare and because of like the way the screens work. The photography's not.
And wasn't he holding that sideways too?
But apparently, all the other phone is the calculations that prove that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old, and then he goes back to the camera to himself, but now it's upside down.
Yeah,
and it was talking about how he's so right and all atheists.
Yeah, 360 million people to multiply each year. So we're talking about, say, 360 million people.
Like, where is he getting the numbers from?
His ass.
He's really bad at this.
I started doing some calculations on my own, and then I stopped because I realized I didn't know where he got his numbers from to begin with.
He doesn't know where he got his numbers from to begin with.
So
he really doesn't.
I watched the video twice, and I'm trying to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, how does this account? Oh no, the question that I wanted to ask him was that, is he talking about human beings as we know them now, Homo sapiens sapien, or is he talking about Homo neanderthalis, the Neanderthalisis, or is he talking about fucking Homo erectus? Who is he talking about?
He said Homo erectus.
Homo habilis. Like what species of man or pseudo-man or is he referring to for this time period? But, I guess that's for another time. Has anyone convinced him to try and come online and verbally explain what the hell he's talking about?
Maybe he's already
decided to block JD.
Did he block me? He hasn't blocked me yet.
Well, he said he was going to.
Okay, that's not unusual.
He's gonna block JD.
Blocked by a fundy that never happens, and they never do that.
He's gonna block JD. Isn't that part of this deist ceremony?
The rite of passage.
Once you have blocked the JD, then you can join the clown car posse.
Oh
Hang
man,
on, I'm gonna block JD real quick.
If you go to his page on Google+, he has that image of atheism, the belief that there was nothing and nothing happened to nothing, and then everything magically exploded. That whole meme,
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because that's totally what it means to be an atheist. You have to.
It just looks like he took a bunch of fundy nonsense and just regurgitated it on his page, and just works at God, for God, because God, employed at God's dick hand, and God, fucking God, super God, God.
Godity God.
Yeah, that's what his page honestly looks like.
Followed by God.
God damn it!
Don't forget the wound, the head wound.
Oh, he's in the end times too. There was a blood moon.
But JD, when you've seen his videos, have you noticed the one little thing that sticks out at you?
He has a picture of the Pope meeting Obama, and it says the two beasts meet.
No, in every video, it's got a picture of him with a head wound.
Of what?
I haven't seen that.
If you go to his video pages and look down, probably like the 8th video, you see a pretty pronounced head wound on the right-hand side of his forehead. And then as you scroll back up, you see it slowly healing.
Oh, he's got a new. Ooh, there's another one by him. That's from only a couple days ago.
Wow, JD's not paying attention.
Radioactive carbon dating is majorly flawed. Radioactive carbon dating. I mean, sort of, kind of correct, I guess.
What does he mean? Like, what isotope is he talking about? Does he mention what isotope of carbon?
Well, I haven't watched it yet, but it's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so
it should be in the description.
The flaws are only takes 30 seconds to show the flaws in a really shaky camera video.
Ask him what he thinks of Cardboard 13 dating.
I usually go with
for sure.
Carbon 16. I say, oh, you talking about Carbon 16, right? Yeah.
Yeah, get him to go, oh yeah, that's totally what I meant.
Yeah, Carbon 16, yeah. Discovered by, Professor Bahamut, back when he was, studying material samples.
No, you can't use
Oh, yeah, bringing it back 3.
No, you can't use Bahamut. You have to use Dr. Kainatush. Yeah, he's got the proper fucking writings on this. Dr. Kainatush knows things, he does.
Okay, guys.
Dr. Neil Bahamut.
Guys, I'm going to end the show. We've gone almost to an hour and a half now. I want to thank everyone who for coming, and we're going to have an after-show party. Obviously.
Can I do a quick plug of one of my hangouts tonight? I don't normally do this.
All right.
Tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern time, me and a distinguished panel of roundtable members of the Commonwealth are going to do an end times roundtable discussion panel. And it's all of you wangdoodles out there that think you know about the end times prophecies and all that pocky-clips. You come on in. We'll give you a special place at the table whilst we discuss the madnesses and the insanities that are the end times. Don't miss it. 6 o'clock Eastern time.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. I think we got up to like 10 viewers. That was like 7 more than we had last time. And so have yourselves a good rest of the day, and goodbye.